Welcome, everyone. This is exciting. I think we want to thank Elisa for setting up the beautiful day today and all that you're going to see. And thank you, Rebecca, as well. We were just, last night I was out with some of the students under Conant, the veranda, and it was so cold. No one told me it was going to be this cold in Georgia. Just wanted you to know that. So first of all, welcome trustees, alumni, friends of the university, faculty and staff to the Schall Woodland Walk dedication. This is such a beautiful day to have it too. We're fortunate. And a special welcome back to Larry and Betty, and we thank them for all they have done for Oglethorpe. The Schall Woodland Walk represents many things to many people, and it will surely be a meaningful feature of the university for years to come. Before I hand things over to Norm, I want to mention two personal reactions about the walk and what the walk represents to me. First, I'm not sure if Larry remembers this, but we had a conversation before I arrived about what the walk was and why it was important to him. Among the many different ways trustees could honor both of you. For example, it could have been a fountain, it could have been a statue, but none of these ideas really fit. And
I actually like the statue.
We can still do a statue. But a key feature of the honor for him was to make it functional. In particular, a walk could serve as a way to help students, particularly students with disabilities, make their way across campus in a safe manner. And I found this reason not only functional but meaningful. Coming from a family with members who have disabilities, I can say that it's rare for others to take notice and make a difference for them. My second personal observation, having traveled the walk, and it's about 100 yards, so it's a great little exercise routine we do, is that I'm reminded of a quote from one of my favorite authors, Khalil Gibran, who said, "We live only to discover beauty. All else is a form of waiting." Thank you, Larry and Betty. The walk represents your legacy and will benefit generations of students to come. So now I'm going to turn it over to Norm Findley to give a view from the trustees moving forward.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. We do have a beautiful day here. Larry and Betty, welcome. Welcome home. Welcome back. I have a few notes to myself, and I also have a letter I want to read in a minute from the board, from Cameron Brady to the both of you. There were four people who kind of pulled this together for the trustees. Jack Wynn was one, and I was one. And I need to say, and unbelievably to us, and unbelievably sad, we lost two members along the way from getting this started to getting it finished. The first was Terry White, who we lost early in 2019, or in middle of 2019. And Terry was on the phone with us as we were hitting up trustees for contribution to this. Many of them would not take my calls anymore, but and those that didn't, you know who called the second time, and it was Bell, and they all opened up and gave, you know. Bell was such a wonderful human being. I don't need to tell anybody what she was to the university. I can tell you what she was to me, which was an incredible mentor and friend. But to think about Bell the way Bell was, anybody who gave any money to this cause received a handwritten thank you note from Bell Turner Lynch. It's unbelievable. So we think a lot about the two that aren't here today to help celebrate. We know they're looking down with us and celebrating too. Bell is represented here today both by Barry and Virginia is going to say a few words in a minute about her relationship with Larry, which the university survived somehow. So let me read the letter. This is the actual letter. This is the letter in bigger print, so I can read it. I meant to say, when Nick was talking, many of you met. That's our president, Dr. Nick Ladany, And I need to say that because I realize most of you have only seen him on your computer. And I actually told Adrian this morning I had the idea of getting a piece of cardboard and cutting it out and holding it in front of him when he was talking with the screen cut out, so you could actually see that he was a real person, not a Disney figure. So
I'm much taller online.
yeah, yeah. All right, so let me start. Dear Larry and Betty, on behalf of the entire Board of Trustees, welcome back to Oglethorpe University. Today, we dedicate the Schall Woodland Walk, celebrating your outstanding 15-year tenure as President of Oglethorpe University. The walkway traverses a beautiful wooden section of campus, and we hope that as students, faculty, staff, and others enjoy the walkway, it reminds them of the many, many accomplishments of your presidency. We also trust that when you return to campus, you'll enjoy the walkway and remember the gratitude of those trustees who served with you and give you a chance to reflect on all that you accomplished here. When you arrived at Oglethorpe, there were roughly 700 students. You led a strategic plan for enrollments of 1,500. That goal was achieved, and enrollment continues to grow. And I should say as an aside, it's not just more students, it's some of the best students we ever had. We watch the grades go up every year. We watch the SAT scores go up every year as these new students came to campus. And most belovedly, or rather most importantly, our beloved university is thriving, mainly due to the transformation you spearheaded as president. You revitalized the campus with improvements to existing grounds and buildings. You raised record amounts of capital and built needed facilities, most notably the Turner Lynch Campus Center and the Cousins Center for Science and Innovation, the latter being the first new building on the Upper Quad in over 50 years. A visionary leader, you negotiated the development of a vacant land site at the side of our campus, which became the Gables apartment complex. The development included state-of-the-art classrooms and optional student housing at no cost to the university. The proceeds of this project more than doubled the university's endowment. Wow.
Wasn't that big to begin with?
Yeah. You aggressively addressed years of deferred maintenance and erased reliance on short-term debt. When I joined the board about, I guess, 2 years before Larry got here, I didn't think that would ever happen. But it's long gone. It was about forgotten that we ever had it. You established the Center for Civic Engagement and the A-Lab while expanding study abroad opportunities, all with the unwavering commitment to enhancing the comprehensive education of Oglethorpe students. Further, you built the reputation of the university among academic, business, and philanthropic leaders in Atlanta and beyond. This is only a partial list of what you accomplished. Also significant was how you went about it. You served with incredible positive energy within the university and the larger Oglethorpe and Atlanta communities. Whether it was pizza delivered to a dorm room or an invitation from Betty and you for dinner, the feeling of Oglethorpe under your leadership was always cheerful and fun. Campus life flourished. If things slowed down a little, we could rely on Oglethorpe's First Lady. Who has to take a call right now. Betty was so active and did so much to enhance her presidency. She threw herself 100% into the life of Oglethorpe. Trustees often felt we got two for the price of one. Or given Betty's level of energy, maybe 2.5 for one. So the headlines for today are thank you, Larry, and thank you, Betty. Thank you both for your leadership, energy, dedication, and for loving Oglethorpe as much as we do. Signed, Cameron Brady, Chairman, Oglethorpe Board of Trustees, for the Trustees. I have a few more. Here's a smaller version of that letter, Larry, which you may be able to read without glasses. Thank you. I have a few more things that when I thought about this, I thought the things that were mentioned in that letter, that's all pretty astounding. But to me, there was more, something inside the Schall Lonergan administration, something more than buildings and funds raised and more students. There was just I don't know how you said it, a heart to it, a vibe within the administration. And I tried to think about what was that, you know, how can I, so I thought of some examples just to mention. When JEO, Hammaker Theater scholarships were awarded, Larry made the calls personally to them to tell them they got the award. Now think about that. You're a student applying to college and you just want a full scholarship. I can't even understand that. And then secondly, but it's the president of the university who calls. Now think about it. You get this call and you're a smart kid. You're going to get lots of scholarship offers. What other president called you? My answer is none that I can imagine. And that made a difference. There was an Indian student named Adi Prim whose parents couldn't get a visa to attend his graduation at the beginning of the Trump administration. Larry picked up the phone and called Johnny Isaacson. Now, we didn't get the invitation. We didn't get the papers cleared up, but Larry didn't hesitate to pick up and try to solve the problem no matter what he had to do to get it done. There were angel flights to New Orleans and student trips to help victims of Hurricane Katrina and other things. A young man named Nathaniel Goldman was debating between Oglethorpe and Emory. And Larry sat down, talked to him, and said, what's the difference? What would make you decide? And he said, well, I'm Jewish, and there's a large Jewish community at Emory. And I could go there and feel very much at home and be a part of it. And Larry said to him, well, that's true. You could go to Emory and you could be a part of that. Or you could come to Oglethorpe and you could start it and lead it. He came to Oglethorpe. There were trips to students to Honduras or Guatemala. There were also marshmallow roasts in the courtyard of Traer, which I hope the fire marshal is not around to hear about that one. But I mean, it was just mixing, you know, and taking kids into their hearts and vice versa. It came right back to them. There were days of service on Martin Luther King Day, alternative spring break trips to do good in other places. Larry would jump into basketball or soccer games on campus and give the kids the thrill, the students, I should say, the thrill of beating up the president on the soccer field. He and Betty would I remember them helping freshmen load their stuff out of a car and into a dorm room. And then having all the freshmen come over the next night to the house to welcome the school. I mean, who does that? No university that I attended didn't. You know, the vibe of the place was, well, it was, to me, if you look at those examples, and there's so many more, what was the vibe? The vibe was 90% about making a difference. The last part of Oglethorpe's motto, make a difference. The things they did, giving back, the things they did with students, giving back. And it was 100% about the students. And those are the things that really get to me when I think of what you two did here. So on behalf of all of the trustees, thank you, thank you, thank you. And let me introduce Virginia. Sorry, I got a little choked up. Thank you.
Aw, thank you. So good morning. My mama left some pretty big shoes to fill here at Oglethorpe, but I'm really pleased to be here to represent her in this formal dedication of the Schall Woodland Walk. In many ways, I think this walk was really years in the making. From the very beginning of the search that led you to Oglethorpe, Larry, through the 15 years of your tenure, you know, it symbolizes, at least to me, and I think to my mom, the unprecedented contributions that both Larry and Betty made to the Oglethorpe community during your tenure, during his tenure, and Larry's legacy in leading this university.
That's your mom.
I was going to say, she's tuning in leading this university through some dark forests, honestly, towards a much brighter future. So amazing, Norma's kind of already said a lot of this, but as amazing as you are, Larry, I'm going to give a shout out right here and right now to Betty. Your extraordinary and energetic affection for this place was just transformative, and you are a force of nature. My mama loved both of y'all dearly, but boy, did she really admire you. She admired you too, but I'm just saying. She really was like, wow, that Betty. Now, okay, so back to Larry. So in my experience, and I think in my mom's experience, the most effective partnerships are forged by near constant communication and trust that honest feedback will deepen kind of the intrinsic value of the partnership itself. Larry partnered in the truest sense of the word with all of the Board of Trustees. And it is because of that partnership that the trustees really did want to honor you today with this walk. A lot of y'all may have heard the story about my mama and explaining to Larry how things are appropriately done in the South after they had a first meeting with a key potential donor. Any of y'all who knew my mother knew that he got the message rather clearly, albeit with grace, and that he internalized it. So then and subsequently, Larry embodied the ideal of the best partners who listen carefully and then get on with the business at hand with purpose and with passion. So as Norm reminded me when we were talking about my being a poor substitute for her today, you know, my mom headed up this group of trustees who felt that y'all deserve permanence on campus because of the way you had transformed it. And this idea that Nick already alluded to, a small fountain at the front of campus, you know, which would have been very attractive to look at, but I gather that you were less than fully convinced about its value added to campus life, and asked for some time to think about it, and then came back to the group with the idea of fixing this spot on campus that was not ADA compliant. You know, such that at the time, some students always had to peel off from their group of friends and go a separate, longer way. And that spot marginalized people in this community every single day by setting some students apart from others. And you wanted to fix that. So, you know, from my perspective, correcting, you know, the fact that you really wanted to correct a persistent equity deficit for some in this community, as a way to pay tribute to you, I think that just speaks volumes about who you are as an individual, about your exceptional stewardship of this institution, and your just sort of personal integrity in that regard. I am told that a really remarkable student who is currently here at Oglethorpe, who you know, but I do not, Kara Lindsay, recently said to Jack, I think, that this walk is the most incredible improvement she's seen to the campus in her time here, and she lives this progress. So I hope you will always hold that in your heart. This walk is symbolic of the ascending path the institution has taken over this past 10 to 15 years. It connects and integrates academic space with the spaces where kind of real life takes place. And not that academic isn't real life, but where the rest of life, I should say, takes place in this community. And it puts every single member of this community on the same literal platform of accessibility. So, plus it happens to provide a backdrop of beauty to the day-to-day, which my mama certainly held dear in her heart. And it is a lasting reminder of both you, Larry, and Betty integrated very thoroughly into the fabric of this campus life. So with that, I'm going to let you finally get to say something, which hopefully will be as inspirational as this walkway is. And we are delighted to have you here today. So thank you.
Yeah. I have some remarks I've written down, but the stories that just sort of come into my head right now. So one, I remember when Jack and Belle and Norm, I think that was the group that came to see me, and I can't remember if I don't think Terry was with us, about this idea of doing something, and they had brought sketches of this fountain on campus. and it was beautiful, and they were really excited about it. And all I could think of
Larry, I left that part out.
yeah. All I could think of was there was water that, yeah, enough said. So I thought that, and Belle was like, no, it's a really good idea. It's a really good idea. And I was like, Belle, we can't, it's a really bad idea. But we landed on I think really a beautiful idea. And I saw this in various pieces, but it's such a beautiful day. And most especially, it's just when I saw it before, there was nobody was ever on it, and so it's just, we got here at about 7 this morning because it takes about 5 hours to walk down it. But no, it really has. It made what was a pretty unattractive place on campus a really pretty spot. When we got here 15 years ago, this was the Ho Chi Minh Trail. I don't know if people remember. This entire woods was all bamboo. You could not see from the parking lot over to Traer. Not that you particularly wanted to see Traer. Yeah, but it's odd to be back. I have to be honest. It is odd to be back. We for 15 years spent 7 days a week, most nights, on campus, and then when you're not here for almost a year and a half, it's just it is odd to be back. But so it's wonderful to see so many friends here, and if there's, I think if there's one thing about our 15 years, it is that we talk about it. It's not about anything we built. It's not really about the enrollment. It's just about it's all about people, and we've just created so many friends. That was the special part of our time here. So so many wonderful people to see. I just want to call out the four horsemen, the four coaches that kept me here for 15 years. That sort of kept us sane. We love the students, and that's one of the ways we got to sort of be with students. And you told that story. So Alex, what year did you come, Alex? So Alex was a freshman in 2007, and he came in the summer after being admitted to come play basketball with the kids who were already here. And so I was, at that point, was playing pretty regularly, and I was playing, and they sent me over to guard him. And he's a little bit quicker than me, not all that much, to be honest, but anytime he tried to get past me, I'd grab his shorts and smack him, and he's like talking trash to me until finally someone went over and said, "That is the president you're talking to." And he babysitted Lulu, and yeah. But it was 17 years ago. It was the first time we came onto campus. I was a lifelong Northerner, had absolutely no interest and no expectation of ever living in the South. I had told the search consultant that when she reached out to me, and I went home to tell Betty and said, there's this school in Atlanta that I'd sort of heard of but not really heard of, and they have some interest in me. And I told her, no, we're not moving south. And Betty was not the first time she said this to me, nor the last. Said, "That's about the stupidest thing you've ever said. You need to call her back," and the rest is history. But Atlanta was it was a great place to land, and we're so happy that we did. We've now, landed on the North Shore of Boston, another place never would have ever thought we'd be, steps from the ocean. And we take a gin and tonic most nights, go up to Crocker Park, look up over the harbor, and go, how the heck did we end up here? But it's a beautiful home, and my work is really rewarding and engaging. In the beginning, it felt like, so I'd go home, whatever it was, 6, 7 o'clock at night, and for 15 years, I was like, okay, now this is when work starts, right? You're emailing staff at 3 o'clock in the morning and worrying about every student, and now I get home and have a gin and tonic. I don't worry about anything. Yeah, and spend most of my time, with board chairs and boards and presidents, trying to sort of help them. We have 217 schools, trying to help them sort of navigate what's a really extraordinarily difficult time to be associated and to lead a university. It's I think unlike no other time. I gather it's maybe the first time the trustees have been together for a while, since the pandemic. So I'm delighted to be part of that, and could not be more grateful to all of you for being here, and especially for the support and guidance you gave us over all that time. It's really hard to sort of think about the people that aren't with us. I mean, it's just, I know there's a sort of natural progression of life, and none of us are on this earth for all that long. But when I think back to when we came and think about the people we've lost, I think Joel Goldberg was maybe the first trustee in my time to go, and Pamela Tremaine and Warren and Harold, O.K. Sheffield, who was just this extraordinary friend, and then Terry White, who Terry didn't go here, but could not have been a more committed and loyal and generous friend of the university. And then Bell, of course. And, you would have, if anybody had sort of said that Bell and I would, in some ways like fall in love with each other, which we really did, you would have thought, okay, that ain't never going to happen. And the first executive committee meeting we had over in the little room over in Conant, Belle would come in as she would, would before a meeting, and sit down, and we'd very carefully go through an agenda and cross every T and dot every I. And we had this agenda. I can't remember. There were 3 items on it that I know. I don't remember what they were. And they were numbered 1, 2, 3. And the agenda got sent out. And Belle welcomed everybody to the meeting and turned it over to me. And this literally was probably a month after I had started work. And I said, thank you, Belle. I think we're going to start with agenda item 3. And then we're going to work our way to 2 and 1. And I thought, boy, this was a great meeting. Everybody was engaged. I go home and, I'm telling Betty it was a great meeting. The next day, there's a hand-delivered envelope in our mailbox. No stamp, just an envelope, handwritten. Dear Larry, when we have an agenda and it goes 1, 2, 3, we do 1, 2, 3. We don't do 3, 2, 1. Sincerely, Bell Turner Lynch. It's like, okay, what you got? So, Bell is front and center for me, and she always was. And what I most appreciated about Bell was that she'd always tell me the truth. And it was, it was her truth, and it was not always my truth, but it was her truth. But regardless of whether I agreed with her or not, you knew you had to listen to her, and pretty much do what she told you to do. And not because you were scared of the consequence, although you might have been a little bit. But because you knew she cared more than anybody. She just cared more than anybody. And that, I think in the end, that's what bound us, is that we cared. And the three of us cared. And then she, Belle had her favorites, and I hope, over time I became one of them. But regardless of whether you were her favorite or not, she always treated people with respect and in a sort of formal way. That's the handwritten letter. And I think before I got to Oglethorpe, I'd maybe written, I don't know if I'd ever written a handwritten thank you note, but I wrote thousands of handwritten thank you notes because of Belle. And I think that's what, in the end, that's another thing we had in common, is that I think we both believed that if you treated people well and you brought your team together, you could do great things. And I think that's what we did. And so it really, it's in sort of honor of Belle today that I want to make sure, this walkway's got, has my family name on it, which is wonderful. But it really, it ought to have a lot of names on it. So I want to especially take time to sort of recognize that group of people that, just stood shoulder to shoulder with me, and with the trustees, and refused to fail. We refuse to fail. And so it starts with Betty. When we got here, this place did not look like it looks now. And there was no, there weren't enough people to take care of it. So, most nights, most weekends, we came back to campus and weeded and mulched, and she made curtains, and we went to Goodwill. We furnished the lounges with furniture from Goodwill, and that was an upgrade. But our sense was that every student mattered, and if students felt like you cared about this place, then they would care about this place. So she scrimped, she saved, she weeded, she mulched, and delighted in all of you, and delighted in the students, and was truly an equal partner in this. And then the team we assembled. Not everybody's here, but Michelle's hiding in the back, and where's Lucy, floating around somewhere? Lucy's been quiet for half an hour. That's unusual. Sit next to Glenn, and Colleen's hiding behind them. Dennis is somewhere Dennis is over here. Carrie's standing in the back. Just individually and collectively, this is the best of the best. And that's sort of my deepest appreciation for how hard they worked. So glad to be back. Again, it's odd to be back after you sort of lived someplace this deeply for so long. But thrilled to see the school's doing well. Thrilled to see Whitney got that enrollment number with a 4 in front of it. Lucy and I always said if we got close to 4, we'd be admitting our grandchildren and cousins to get that number over 4. But I think Whitney did it without that. So that's wonderful to see. It's a special place. Oglethorpe's a different place. I think that's something that's important to know, that Oglethorpe's it's a different place, but it's really important that it stay different. And and because it's a place that's I don't know if it's it's a place that's got a big heart, and I think that's probably true when we were failing and flailing financially. It always had a big heart. So it's nice to have a big heart and also have a little money in the bank. So thank you for being here. We look forward to chatting with all of you as we slide over. Special thank you to Norm for his persistence in pulling this thing together. Not easy. Norm's you speak about heart. There's a man with a big heart. So thrilled to be here. Yeah. Thank you.